Hi. I know I said shit like, oh yeah, there's gonna be one serious video, one semi-serious video, one blatantly non-serious video. Um, I don't have a non-serious topic for you guys today. So we're just gonna double down on the serious video. So I'm building up to this really big video about women in gaming spaces and internet spaces and how much that's changed over time. I wanted to keep that like in a broad sense of misogyny. Like every woman. Something that could be generalized to everything, right? I wanted to talk about Reddit. Not like Reddit in general. I've become more active in Reddit recently. I got down with the sickness that is known as COVID. And whenever I get sick, I get sick. I get sick. And I'm just stuck for like weeks on end. Just fucked up. And usually I turn to the internet because what else am I gonna fucking do, right? Until recently, trans Reddit was the only space where I wasn't actively shunned. Right? I'm not gonna get into the backstory behind that. I was in the wrong, 100%. So there's this huge issue going on around. I mean, no one's talking about it because it's like trans creators are their own space. Like their own clique, whatever, sure. But if you don't know, you're not into the spaces or whatever, it's a very common thing right now so there's these subreddits where you're supposed to post yourself on, right? I don't know if it's still there. There was a picture of like this woman who had like 600 upvotes, which nowadays, that's insane. That is insane for a subreddit as dead as this. They deleted it. But if you had looked on her account, there was no mention of being trans before any posting on here. There was no mention of anything, and they're active on like every other subreddit known to fucking man to promote their OnlyFans. It's like, okay, maybe they're just a transgender OnlyFans worker. No, because they fucking identify themselves as cis women before this. And what they did was they put themselves as non-binary on their Instagram, on their Reddit profile so that they wouldn't get banned off of trans timelines. But then if you go to their Instagram, they weren't they, them, non-binary. They said a woman, mom, American, and you would click on her link tree and it was just one to her OnlyFans. But the link tree had a very specific thing that it would always say that it was in the city you were in currently. And it was weird. You know, at this point, it was obvious that she wasn't trans, obviously. She was just a woman posting to get clout. To get, like, oh, I don't pass. And then people would just be like, oh, you do. For the karma. There's also a lot of chasers on trans passing, sure. But I went down the rabbit hole. There's always a rabbit hole. There's always a fucking rabbit hole to everything. Why can't we just have one fucking thing on the internet without a rabbit hole, right? And I'm a very vocal advocate about this. But this is gonna be so mean to people who are gonna get really defensive about this. And I'm sorry, but there's a huge problem right now on, like, trans Reddit and just... And I don't mean, like, ooh, white people. I mean, like, how a Mexican would use gringo. I don't mean, like, white. Like, oh, white people. Hicks. Shit like that. No. No hard feelings. I'm just telling the story to get my point across. So, my birthday is late September 11th, and so we celebrate on September 11th. People will see this voice coming out of this body, and people speaking Spanish in a restaurant celebrating, we get looks, right? And so I posted a picture of myself with my cake, and it was right after that debate, the Trump-Kamala debate. Ooh, politics. And he said, like, oh, Haitians are eating our pets, and, like, they're being transitioned in prisons and shit like that. So I post the picture in the main transgender subreddit, and it's ironic. I am an ironic poster. I love irony posting. I browse, my main subreddit is Yuma and transgender circle jerk. I love irony posting. And so the irony post was pictured here, trans illegal Mexican immigrants celebrating 9/11 and the fall of America. And in parentheses, just so they knew I was being sarcastic, it was my birthday today. Me celebrating 9/11 is me celebrating 9/11, the date of my birthday. And you can see this picture and be like, oh, Rena, you look nothing like this. I know, my lighting sucks ass here. You can see it more when I put my hair up. Most of the community got it. How did the prison's medical service, though? Like, it was positively received. You know, within the first like hour, it was like 700 upvotes. It was doing fine. It was doing fine, and then it gets deleted. It's like my first selfie post I've ever made on trans. Second post ever. It gets deleted. I look at my Reddit messages. You have been banned from trans. And I'm like, hey, I get the ban. I'm totally fine with it, but can I at least ask why I didn't get a warning? I didn't say that. Some shit like that. I said some shit. I'll post it on the screen. And they're like, well, we have a zero tolerant, we have zero toleration for making fun of a national tragedy such as 9/11. It's a very sensitive topic. And I'm like, it's a fucking sensitive topic that I have to get made fun of every year. Is that not, like, valid? And they're like, and it's two different moderators, like, saying different shit. And one of them obviously wanted to just delete my post specifically. Because at the time, I can't find it, but there was also a post with, like, a xenomorph that mentioned, you know, illegal trans aliens responsible for, like, the same exact fucking joke. And it's been up for 8 hours, and it was a top post. So they obviously knew it existed. And they're like, we have a zero tolerance post for this. And I'm like, well, that's not true, because this post has been up for 8 hours and has tons of upvotes. I feel like it's only fair if you delete this post if you delete my post. My thought was they would unban me and undelete my post, seeing how it's unfair. No, they deleted the post that's been up for 8 hours. I show it to my friend, and he goes, no, they definitely backtracked so they could justify banning you. And I'm like, really? Maybe they just didn't notice. Maybe they just didn't fucking notice, you know? Give them benefit of the doubt. And it's like, okay, yeah, I made a joke. I made an off-color joke. Sure. Responsibility. As a Monty Python guy once said, if the audience hates your joke, it's not because the audience is bad, it's because your joke is bad. You know, it's like yelling at your customers. Sure. My only issue was that it was pretty well received, but, you know, they're moderators. Whatever. I'm very petty about this. I'm gonna be very petty about this. But the reason I brought it up was because there was another post, about drama in curated Tumblr. I guess Reddit algorithm read the issue I was going through, and they gave me this exact post of what I was going through, saying, curated Tumblr going toward having controversy for banning 9/11 jokes. And people were like, that doesn't make sense. They're a counterculture subreddit. And this led me to, and I'm like, Rinna, you're so off topic. Where the fuck are you going with this? This led to a whole of, like, in the largest sphere of things, I wouldn't identify myself as a Democrat or a Republican or leftist, or I'm not centrist either. I just think people in America are two-dimensional about their, you know, political alignments. You know, you have the compass. But, like, political alignments in other countries are so fucking different compared to political alignments in this country. And as much as Mexico is getting Americanized, I'm light-skinned native. I don't mean like, oh, I'm 1/4 fucking native. Oh, no, my grandma's like curly hair, dark skin, and it's like, so I might not face the same like discrimination because but this is more how I look like in real life. That background is set because I need to specify to you that when I speak my political views, it comes from those goggles. American progressives, more often than not, just want one thing. And then once they get that one thing, they are like not progressive. They are progressive for that one specific thing. And I think that's happening now with the trans community. And it's more so obvious on Reddit, where, yeah, this is supposed to be a counterculture place. And I got banned for a very, like, it wasn't even joking about 9/11, the fucking people. It was joking about 9/11, my birthday. And then I was like, well, why did the joke about the immigrant from the actual immigrant get banned and not the joke making fun of immigrants? And this has been a bigger issue on the internet overall. If you talk about people eating dogs, you're feeding the fire. So many people were joking about the dog eating shit that it was becoming racist, even though they were doing it in support, when really they just wanted clout. And it's kind of biting the trans community in the ass right now, because that's just what's happening, but in a wider scale. If you go on like any Reddit picture, it's the same type of passing woman, you know? It's the same type of trans woman. And I don't mean to be like, oh, it's the white kind. Because again, I don't want to bring like race into it. I just mean like white in like the gringo sense, the Eurocentric beauty standard sense, or like the basic white girl kind of sense. And basic is not bad, please. It's just a lot of people look the same. That's how trends work. Please, I don't. I still feel bad for implying that the first time. And it's like, well, where's everyone else? And they're there, but it's a very specific set of them. It's like, it's not like okay, it's kind of like how Ariana Grande was a white girl, but then she cosplayed as black. And then because she was actually a white girl, she was like acceptable black, but she wasn't even black in the first place. It's kind of like that, but the opposite, where it's like the only like foreign or non-white pretty people who get to like get attention in trans communities are, you know, Eurocentric beauty standards. Maybe they have a white nose. Maybe they have this nose. Maybe they have like everything else, but you know, they have the small chin that I don't have. I mean, they have the small chin. They have that one white girl face that all like the, I don't know how to explain it. I don't want to start. It's a bad road to go into when you start describing physical appearance of trans people. So I don't want to, but like just, you know what I'm talking about, right? And it's not a bad thing. Body positivity is great. Everyone should be confident in who you are. But that implies that people are all confident in who they are. And more often than not, that is not the case. And that is not because of trans women. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming you guys. I said it like third person, like I'm not a fucking trans. I'm talking to the audience. I'm not blaming people. It's chasers. It's always fucking chasers, right? You go to like MTF fashion or trans selfies, and you sort by new. Everyone's fucking downvoting the ugly ones, you know? If you're like curvy and you have tits, you get upvoted. But if you're like called ugly, if you're considered ugly, you just have like, you're downvoted immediately. You have to like catch a new one as it gets posted, really. The reason I'm talking about it more is the issue. There's a bigger issue that comes from like how stuff is being run in the community. And this isn't just Reddit. This happens in a lot of places, right? I get it. Chasers kind of fund everything we do because they're rich and they just give us tons of money. But it's being used as an excuse to keep bad behavior more than it is as like a way to support trans women. And let me explain. There was that post I mentioned earlier on trans passing with the cis woman, right? She was not only was she got banned after I called it out, I think. She got banned. She doesn't post there anymore. Her post got deleted. But again, she was at 600 likes, and if you sort that by new, it's like, it's sad. Like, it's supposed to be body positivity, and there's people that go into the negatives at times. And it's like, why the fuck is this person? Why are they going to the negatives? You're supposed to be positive about it. And then the trans men, you know, don't have any upvotes because people chasers are just going there for fucking, validate, you know, for the trans women, etc., etc., etc. Trans passing doesn't have a good moderation team, but they have a very history from what I'm aware of. I made an irony post on it on transgender circle jerk, and apparently someone just somehow found moderators getting mad at people for calling a trans person out for wearing a MAGA hat and pro-Trump hat, and that they posted a picture of themselves in a Trump hat. What I'm going with this is there's not a lot of space for trans people of color. There's not a lot of room for us to breathe, you know? We have to, like, be American. Like, you know, there's all this talk about intersectionality and, like, this and that, but none of it's actually being performed, you know? We all have to conform. You know, I sound like a Valley girl more than ever now because, you know, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be okay. I wanted to be nice. And it was, when I mentioned, like, my you know, living in Mexico, you know, being native, that kind of shit, it gets pushed aside. No one takes it seriously. Whenever I talk about my experiences as a person of color rather than as a trans person, I get downvoted. I get, like, shit on. I get, like, you know, on Twitter or whatever. People ignore me, that kind of stuff. And that's the precedent it's setting. Like, yeah, chasers, 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 but there is a very active precedent that's being set for trans women too. It's not just chasers causing the bad, and that needs to be acknowledged because it just sucks. It really does suck, and my brain rot's bad. So my form of brain rot is measurement brain rot, not like bone density shit brain rot, but like if I get called ugly and another person gets called pretty, I'm aligning our faces. Because if they're the exact same, I'm gonna be asking for some answers. How the fuck is this person with like this basically the same fucking like face as me is getting called ugly while is getting called pretty while I'm getting called ugly? What is the behind motive? You know? Well, why is this person being called pretty when she looks like me, but this person getting called ugly when she's not looks like me, and then I'm getting called ugly, and it's like all this, like, what is the motive? What are you doing? What is this? What are we doing here? It's a very scary concept, and I can't get over it because I know I keep saying I'm gonna stay away from the trans community on the internet after I've been treated, after everything that's been happened, but like I'm one minority already, you know. People of color don't accept me because of this, and then trans people don't accept me because of that. And it's like, why does it have to be like a whole fight? Why does it have to be this whole thing where it's like, oh, we're not doing this, we're just doing this, we're not doing that, we're just doing this? It's like, why does it matter? Why do we have to, worry about any of that? And it's like, one minority group should be more understanding if there's an intersection of different minority group, right? It's becoming toxic. It really is becoming toxic. People don't like to hear it, and it's like, well, it's just how I was raised. And it's like, okay, that's literally what the rhetoric people use when they're not used to trans people. Be better. It's how I was used to. It's how I'm used to. How can I become better? These same people who are trying to get used to you transitioning say the same exact shit. And if you don't take shit from them, I'm not going to take shit from you. You know, there's this person once who I had to call out because they're like, it was a small fucking 4chan Nazi phase. You guys make me feel guilty of every time I bring this up. Like, oh, yes, I was racist. Yes, I was this. And I just said to them, if you were actually getting better, or you felt like you were getting better, you wouldn't be this defensive. Because part of getting better is accepting that you were that way. And you obviously haven't accepted you were if you're going crazy about this, if you're getting defensive. And she said, well, what can I do? It's like, well, stop being defensive. Literally accepting the issue helps you overcome it. Because once you stop being defensive, you're willing to sit down and listen. And like, sure, you could say people put white in front of trans women to be trans misogynistic all you want, but more often than not, that's used against people of color to call out racism than it is like actually for trans misogyny. It's a big meme. The gun with the suppressor says white, and then the gun says trans woman, and it's used whenever like some white guy says white trans woman. It's like, yeah, he's a fucking white guy. You can't fucking. That's like if a black person said black people all suck, or like a Mexican said Mexicans should not live here anymore. They don't hold any fucking merit, you know? But more often than not, when people say white trans woman, there's a serious issue being talked about, and then some fucking like American, like, I guess liberal is the word, like, did not actually leftist, just throws the fucking suppressor meme at this person. It's like they're trying to talk about how they feel and what's going on, and you're just ignoring them with a meme. That's fucked up. Isn't that fucked up? We need to be better. I feel like we need to be better. It's always gonna kind of suck. We're not. It's not on us. Let me clarify something, because people get really defensive, and I need to make sure they don't. I'm not saying it's our fault we get treated this way. I'm not saying, oh, it's all, if we be better, everything's fixed. Optics will change. I'm not saying any of that. It's still gonna suck. It's still gonna be awful for us. It's still gonna be shitty. But we should at least be shitty together. We should at least deal with the chasers in solidarity. in an area where we can all be together. We should stop fucking just waiting for the most cis-passing woman, the most conventionally attractive woman, to post their pictures on the transgender subreddit. If we actually are talking about body positivity, be positive towards everyone. You know? Why? And then another thing, why the fuck are the only major trans people in the community just white? Listen, I know I'm not supposed to bring this up. I said it was going to be a Reddit thing. But I need you guys to understand. Let me bring the statistic up. In America, at least, there are 45% of trans people of color. And only 55% white trans people. Compared to the original 66 white population. So there is an overrepresentation in the trans population of people of color. Yet, I can only name one major transgender creator. And she's known because she was objectified by chasers. Which, again, not a bad thing. I'm not saying OnlyFans work is bad. But it just tells you, like, what the fuck are we going with this? You know? How can people feel safe in their own community when the support isn't shown, you know? Which, shout out, Kiana. I've only heard great things about you. There's a lot of stuff I could talk about in this topic. Maybe I'll make this into a bigger video, put my concise thoughts instead of jumping all over the place. But again, this is just a video where I'm yapping. Yeah. So, y'all have a good night. If I said bad things, you know, go ahead, talk to me in the comments. Ask me if you want me to elaborate on a specific sentence that I said that I jumped back and forth. Specify what, and I can make an entire video that's concise specifically about that topic. You know? I'm very good at talking. It's just, I'm starting out with the broader things first. So it's going to be jumping around, and as we jump topics, as more videos get made, they'll become more concise. Have a wonderful time.